With the shooter genre currently dominated by gritty, modern-day, military-based games, Splash Damage have attempted to provide a breath of fresh air with their newest release, an ambitious project that aims to revolutionise the FPS while blurring the lines between solo, co-op and competitive play. This is my review of Brink. The game is set on a huge floating city known as the Ark, a place designed as a prosperous, clean, sustainable home for the future, but which soon became overrun with refugees fleeing from rapidly rising sea levels. This resulted in the Ark being divided and the original inhabitants living in the sleek, luxurious areas of the city, and the thousands of uninvited guests housed in disease-ridden shantytowns and slums. The unfair distribution of wealth and resources led to the formation of a resistance group led by Brother Chen, who aimed to escape the Ark in search of other survivors of the global catastrophe. Opposing these rebels are the Ark's security forces, led by Captain Mokoena, who believe that in order to survive, the Ark must be preserved and order achieved. The conflict between these two forces forms the basis for the civil war that the player will fight in during the game. The storyline isn't a key part of the game, serving mainly just to set up the backstory to the battles that occur. Each mission has a brief opening and closing cutscene, which do a good job of providing context without delaying the real action too much. Players seeking further development to the game's backstory will enjoy the audio logs that provide extra insight to the background of certain characters and can be unlocked by completing missions and fulfilling objectives. After choosing your preferred faction, and this is not a permanent decision, you can play any mission from any campaign at any time, you'll be able to create and customize your character. The range of personalization options is huge. Most of the items belong to an outfit set, for example trousers, jacket and helmet that are styled as part of the same costume, but you can select whichever items you want for each individual area of your character, and with a large selection of colour schemes for every item of clothing, this all adds up to a ridiculous amount of customization combinations. As you level up and progress through the game, more items will become available to you to further refine your look. Every Brink player should look truly unique. On the subject of looks, the whole game follows a unique and fresh art style that really helps Brink to stand out with its own visual identity against the usual greys and browns of a lot of current popular shooters. Colours are vibrant, architecture is impressive, and character proportions are exaggerated to provide a stylized feel to the game world that is prominent enough to add interest, but not so over the top that you feel like you're playing in some sort of wacky cartoon world. The art style was one of the things that drew me to the game in the first place, and it really does establish a great sense of character for the Brink universe. The game promises objective-driven, team-based combat with a fast-paced, dynamic feel, and it definitely delivers. It took me a while to get used to all the mechanics and different options that the game offers, and settle into the general feel of Brink's gameplay, which is quite different from many other online shooters I've played, but once I got used to the game, it became incredibly fun and engaging. Due to the nature of the gameplay, there's no real way for Splash Damage to introduce all the different elements to you gradually, so you're just kind of thrown in at the deep end. But there is a huge tips database and selection of tutorial videos that will help you on your way and allow you to become accustomed with how the game works fairly quickly, which I found to be very helpful. Each mission sees your team fighting for various primary objectives, either defending them against aggressors for a certain amount of time, or attempting to breach your opponent's defences and perform actions such as hacking, repairing or planting charges. Every battle consists of multiple varied objectives that can also include escorting a wounded character to safety, or stopping him, as well as guarding or attacking a maintenance bot. These primary objectives are nicely varied within a mission, and I never felt as though either team has an unfair advantage. A match could go either way depending on the quality of the team's play. While some objectives are universal, most can only be completed by a certain class, while the other classes will provide support by using their character's abilities or carrying out secondary objectives. Depending on how you choose to play, you could find yourself at the heart of the action in a struggle for primary objectives, or working more covertly by providing valuable support in other areas of the battlefield, capturing command posts, opening shortcuts, building machine gun nests, etc. Brink features a helpful objective wheel that you can use to view all available tasks at any time and decide what you're going to do to aid the overall effort. Tapping up on the D-pad will instantly direct you to the current most important objective. If you feel that you can be more helpful as a different class, you can change at any point by using a friendly command post. The game makes sure to reward players by offering the most experience points for completing tasks that will aid the team, as although killing lots of enemies will help, this is an objective-based shooter and should therefore not be played like a team deathmatch. When the whole team works together well, with each player contributing to the effort with a combination of great shooting and class-based abilities, the game is hugely satisfying and very rewarding. The gunplay itself is also very satisfying, with excellent visual and audio quality for all of the weapons, and once you become skilled with them, you'll be able to reduce an enemy's health bar to nothing in an instant. If you're used to FPS games with a more realistic feel, you may at first be surprised at the fact that you have to sustain fire on an enemy to down them, as opposed to just a few rounds, but you'll soon get used to the depth of Brink's damage mechanics and adjust playstyle accordingly. The game's smart system allows you to easily traverse the environment by climbing objects and jumping gaps, with your character's agility depending on body type. Light characters can sprint fastest, scale the highest objects, and even wall jump, but can only hold light weaponry, whereas heavy characters are relatively slow and can only climb waist-high obstacles, but can carry heavy weapons and have more health to compensate. The medium body type offers a nice compromise if you want a balance of power and agility. I found the parkour system itself to work pretty smoothly and was simple to use by just holding down a button and running in the desired direction. A couple of times I ended up running into a flat surface like an idiot as my character refused to grab onto what looks like a low ledge, but generally the system works smoothly and as expected, adding an extra dimension of movement to the game that makes for some interesting combat encounters and chases. The game offers 2 campaigns, one for Resistance and one for Security, each consisting of 6 main missions and 2 what-if missions that provide an alternative version of events. Although short, these campaigns are exciting and entertaining, and I would certainly recommend playing through them in order first before jumping into the free play mode, which allows you to fine-tune match settings to suit your tastes, or simply jump into any available online game with the option of specifying a particular map, game mode, etc. You can choose objective mode to simply play the same missions featured in the campaigns, or add a different twist to the gameplay through stopwatch mode, in which each team has a go at completing mission objectives against the clock, with the fastest being the winner. Brink also features 4 challenge modes which see you completing objectives under fire, navigating a free running course within a time limit, escorting a vehicle and defending a command post from enemy waves. Each one has 3 levels of difficulty with its own unique rewards in the form of weapon attachments. These can also be unlocked through leveling up, and allow you to customize your weapons for performance that matches your style of play. Like with the character customization, there is a huge selection of possible combinations, as you are able to change muzzle type, scopes, magazines and grips, as well as extras like grenade launcher attachments. You can also customize your character's abilities by purchasing them with credits gained through increasing your level. These can be general or class specific, and although at lower levels they might seem trivial, like the ability to throw a grenade while sprinting, they can become game changing at higher levels. For example, you might be able to fire even when incapacitated, or assume direct control of friendly turrets. The amount of unlockables will keep you coming back for more to acquire new outfits and weapon bonuses through earning XP and completing the challenges, and the sheer variety of personalization options open to the player is staggering, with appearance, body type, weaponry, class and abilities all fully customizable, meaning that every player contributes to the team in a completely unique way, and this is definitely one of Brink's strongest elements. Another point worth mentioning is the sound and music for Brink, both of which are fantastic. The gunfire and weapon handling sound effects are crisp and clear, adding extra impact to the firearms, and close explosions will cause a temporary deafness or muffled sound, which enforces the intense feel to the game's battles. The soundtrack is also brilliant thanks to the repeated themes throughout the game, and the way the 2 factions have distinct and different sounds to their music. The soundtrack will also change in-game depending on your current situation. For example, the music will become quick and tense as you rush to complete an objective, or become stealthy sounding as you sneak around in disguise. A minor feature, but a very effective one, and a neat touch to Brink's audio. Brink is incredibly fun and enjoyable, and there really is very little to complain about once you've gotten used to how the game works. However, the game does have its slight shortcomings. Generally, the game looks great, although some textures of the environment seem a little low res and sometimes fail to load properly. But this is a minor issue that is barely noticeable when playing and doesn't detract in any way. And although rarely, I did sometimes find certain areas of the map to be unnecessarily dark, leaving me fumbling around trying to find a doorway or attempting to climb up and reach an objective, and having no idea what is in front of me because of the poor lighting. But again, this is another small annoyance that only happens no more than a few times. Certain matches were plagued by crippling lag when I first started playing online, but Splash Damage seemed to have resolved the worst of it by issuing a series of updates to improve online performance, and I haven't experienced any major issues for a while now, so it seems to be working well. One issue that is a bit more noticeable, however, is the poor friendly AI when playing by yourself. Brink is an online focused game and should be played in full versus mode with every character controlled by a human player to have the best experience. However, the game does support solo play, but it can become extremely frustrating thanks to the AI of the teammates that can range from being barely competent to pretty much brain dead. It's impossible to know whether I've just been unlucky and had a bad experience with it, but throughout attempting to play through a campaign in single player to get used to the game, my fellow brothers in arms would ignore objectives, run straight past enemies, stand in front of groups of hostiles, position themselves right in front of where I was firing, blindly run onto spotted mines, and a whole load of other equally dumb things. I know that computer-controlled bots are never going to match the skill and common sense of human players, but it sometimes felt as though they were almost deliberately trying to hinder the team's efforts, and it just wasn't a great way to experience the game for the first time. Brink is a brilliant game that I have had a load of fun playing. If you're a fan of online team-based shooters, then I would absolutely recommend it. If you're used to FPS games with a different feel and pace, but you're willing to try something a little different, then I would suggest at least renting the game to see if you like the style of it. My advice would be to give yourself time to adjust to the game before judging it. When I first started playing it, I was overwhelmed by the depth of the gameplay and frustrated by the relentlessness of my opponents, but after going online with a good team and getting used to how Brink plays, I found myself loving every second of it. So if you're unsure at first, just make sure to give it a chance. At the time of writing, Splash Damage are soon to release a new DLC pack and a stats website, both of which I'm very excited for, and I hope the developers continue to support the game and the Brink Online community with further add-ons and new content. I'm still really enjoying the game online and will be for a while yet, which is always a sign of a great game. For me, the only things holding this game back from a solid 9 out of 10 are the irritating AI and a handful of other small issues. Other than that, Brink is a very fun and thoroughly enjoyable experience that I have given an 8.5 out of 10. As always, please leave feedback, good or bad, and I'm very interested to hear others' opinions on the game through video responses or text comments, so feel free to share your thoughts as well. Thank you very much for watching my review of Brink.